Before going into this presentation, I would like to thank you for giving me the chance to make this presentation. My name is Jung from Hanban National University in the Republic of Korea. Today's presentation is about the value relevance of human resource expenditure, focusing on companies listed on the Korean stock market. And this paper is joint work between Professor Lee Won-il and I. This page shows the main content of this presentation. This presentation has all 5 sections. The first section is introduction, the second is literature review, and the third is hypothesis and empirical model. The fourth is empirical result, and the last section provides summary and conclusions. Now, let me start from the first section, introduction. Generally, human capital is not recorded as an asset in the financial statements of a company, even though it is a major resource for enhancing its competitiveness. Investments in human resources are recorded only in the form of current costs, such as education, training expenses, and welfare benefits in the income statement. Research that examines corporate valuation factors so far has mainly focused on whether investments in technology assets, such as R&D investments, lead to an increase in corporate value or not. There are relatively few studies that have proven that they are increasing value. In terms of corporate competitiveness, the enhancement of human resource capability is linked to the strengthening of corporate competitiveness. It can be said that education and training of employees is very important in order to strengthen the capacity of human resources. In addition, it can be said that welfare benefits are important so that employees can work stably. Through employee education and training, employees can grow by setting individual career paths while strengthening individual capabilities step by step. If the company has well-established welfare benefits, employees will be able to work in a stable environment while striving for the goals of the organization. In general, it can be said that the performance of an organization depends on the capabilities, attitude, and the environment of its employees. Education and training of human resources directly affect the performance of the organization. In addition, it can be said to be welfare support that enables employees to work in a stable environment. This study attempts to analyze how investment in human assets, such as welfare and training costs, affect the increase in corporate value of listed companies in the Korean stock markets from 2000 to 2021. This analysis can be used to judge whether investment in human assets is merely a cost element or an asset that has the ability to generate future long-term cash flows. In addition, this study may provide a basis for how to make policies on investment in human assets, such as welfare benefits and training expenses, to increase enterprise value. Next section is theoretical background. Human capital includes all of the intellectual, technical, and proficiency levels of the members of an organization. Adam Smith argued that intangible abilities such as the skills and know-how of individuals who are corporate members can be learned through education or training. Nelson and Phelps also pointed out that the level of human capital plays a crucial role in plugging the gap between technological innovation and new technology among countries. The impact of investment in human capital on increases in corporate value has been explored either theoretically or conceptually, but there has been some difficulty in measuring this from an empirical point of view. Companies are investing heavily in the education and training of their employees in order to strengthen corporate competitiveness and respond to rapidly changing industries. It can be said that investment in education and training is very important to strengthen the capabilities of employees in order for companies to continuously grow and strengthen their competitiveness. Next section is hypothesis and empirical model. In this study, human resource expenses will bring about an increase in corporate value through an increase in cash flow within the company up to a certain level. It is predicted that the increase in various expenses caused by the overspending of human resource expenses will become larger, resulting in a decrease in corporate value. This picture shows the expected relationship between human capital related cost and corporate value. If expenditure on human resources is low compared to the optimal scale, then the relationship between human resource expenditure and firm value of firm in Zone 1 is a linear positive, will indicate the relevance. On the other hand, when firms' human resource costs are higher than optimals, there will be no relationship between human resource cost and firm value. A linear negative relationship will appear. However, in reality, it is rare for companies to spend excessive human resource cost beyond their capabilities. Therefore, in this study, if the relationship between human resource cost and corporate value is assumed to be linear, it is expected to show a positive relationship. And if a non-linear relationship is assumed, it is expected to appear in an inverted U shape. So the main purpose of this study is verify whether human capital investment has a significant relationship with the enterprise value in the Korean capital market of the period from 2000 to 2021, and to determine whether the relationship between human capital investment and the enterprise value is linear or non-linear. To this end, this study verifies the following two hypotheses. Hypothesis 1 is human resource expenditure has a significant value relevance in listed Korean stock markets, and hypothesis 2 is human resource expenditure has a non-linear relationship with firm value in listed Korean stock markets. This study is primarily aimed at verifying whether human resource expenditure information has value relevance in the pricing of capital markets or not. This study analyzed the value relevance of human capital expenditure by studying its relationship with the stock price using Olson's 1995 enterprise valuation model. developed as the main model. This study verifies whether the expenditure of human asset has a significant meaning as a determinant of corporate value or not. This study uses the nonlinear relevance test model to investigate whether the effect of human capital expenditure on firm value is linear or non-linear. To investigate the hypothesis of this study uses the following empirical models. This page shows all variables used in the empirical model of this study. You can see all variables used in this study. All variables used in this study are standardized to total sales to control heterogeneity. This section is empirical analysis to examine the nonlinear value relevance of human resource expenditure. This paper obtains sample data from the case value database. The final number of sample data is 24,195, and they cover 22 years from 2000 to 2021 in the listed Korean share market. In the process of sample selection, this study excludes companies that do not reveal information on all the main variables used in the empirical test, such as stock prices, accounting earnings, book value of equity, and welfare and training expenses. Companies in the finance and insurance business, those in condition of encroachment of capital or legal management, and those that do not settle their accounts in the end of December are also excluded. This table shows sample selection procedure for companies included in the empirical analysis. This paper controls extreme data by excluding samples for which Cook's distance is more than 0.5 and the absolute value of shortendized residuals is more than 1. This table shows descriptive statistics on the core variables which are used in the empirical analysis of this study. This table shows the Pearson correlations between independent and dependent variables. The results show that all correlations coefficients are significant with a 1% level of significance between dependent and independent variables. Because of the high correlations between the main variables, this study also tests whether there is any multicollinearity. It is confirmed that the possibility of multicollinearity is very low with the computing result of variance inflation factors. This table shows the effect of human resource expenditures on enterprise value for total samples. For this purpose, this study uses the Olson 1919 valuation model and the empirical analysis method for testing non-linearity developed by Mark et al. 1988. Model 1, 3, and 5 are used to test the basic value relevance of welfare expenses, training expenses, and the total cost of human assets, while Model 2, 4, and 6 are used to investigate whether welfare enterprise is non-linearly related to enterprise value. The coefficient of scale of welfare, training, and the total cost of human assets expenses show negative sign at 1% level of significance. These results indicate that the value relevance shape of human resource expenditure is governed not by linear but by nonlinear dynamics. And the value relevance of human resource expenditure show an inverted U shape. These findings are consistent with the hypothesis of this paper. In other words, these results suggest that human resource expenditure increases enterprise value until a particular threshold, but once the expenditure reaches that threshold, it causes decreases in enterprise value. These pictures show the form of corporate value relevance of human asset expenditure based on the coefficient found in the analysis result. The left-hand section of the x-axis is where the welfare and training expenses are negative, and it is a section that does not exist in reality. On the contrary, the right-hand section of the x-axis exists in the real world because it is a section in which the welfare and training expenses are positive. As shown in these pictures, the welfare expenses, training expenses, and the total cost of human assets lead to an increase in corporate value up to a certain threshold, but rather a decrease in corporate value when it exceeds a certain threshold. In addition, these pictures show that in the case of welfare benefit, the relationship between corporate value in the form of an inverted U is theoretically shown. But in reality, as expenditure increases, corporate value decreases. This table shows the effect of human resource expenditures on enterprise value for KOSPI and KOSDAQ samples. This result suggests that in the KOSPI groups, the form related to the corporate value of welfare expenses and training expenses have an inverted U shape. But the value relevance form of total cost of human asset is not nonlinear. In addition, this result shows that the corporate value related form of and the training expenses in the KOSDAQ group is an inverted U shape, whereas the corporate value related form of the welfare benefits and the total cost of human assets show a U shape. The analysis result in this table shows that companies belonging to the KOSPI market increases corporate values as they invest in welfare benefits, whereas investment in training costs and human assets increases corporate value up to a certain level, but the investment exceeds a certain level. This means that doing so can reduce the value of the company. In addition, in the case of companies belonging to the KOSDAQ markets, investment in welfare benefits and the total cost of human asset does not have the effect of increasing corporate value up to a certain level, but investing beyond a certain level can bring about an increase in corporate value, while the training cost shows the opposite trend. These pictures show the relationship between welfare expenses and corporate value based on research model 2. As shown in these pictures, in the x-axis section, the shape of the relevance of welfare benefits to the corporate value is U-shaped for KOSDAQ group. However, in the positive section of the x-axis that actually exists, the relevance of the corporate value of welfare expenses in the KOSDAQ group increases the enterprise value. In the KOSPI market, a nonlinear graph cannot be displayed because the coefficient value of the scale of welfare expense is not statistically significant. Therefore, in KOSPI-affiliated companies, the form of corporate value relatedness of welfare benefits can be said to be linear or not non-linear. However, these pictures show that the area where actual expenses are spent on both the KOSPI and the KOSDAQ, the more welfare expenses are spent, the higher the corporate value. These pictures show the shape of the enterprise value relevance of training cost based on the coefficient values obtained from the analysis of Model 4. These pictures show the type of relevance to the corporate value of training cost is U-shaped in both the KOSDAQ and the KOSPI corporate groups. In the positive section, in the positive sector that actually exists, both the KOSDAQ and the KOSPI groups show an inverted U-shaped value relationship. This means that for both KOSPI and the KOSDAQ companies, training expenses up to a certain level increases corporate value, but training expenses exceeding a certain level bring about a decreases in corporate value. These pictures show the relationship between the total cost of human assets and the enterprise value based on the coefficient value obtained from the analysis result of research model 6. These pictures show that the relationship between total cost of human assets and firm value in KOSDAQ affiliated company is U-shaped. On the other hand, companies belonging to the KOSPI show a linear rather than non-linear form of value relationships. However, in the actual realm of total cost of human assets, both the KOSPI and the KOSDAQ companies show that as the total cost of human assets increases, the corporate value also increases. This means that as investment in total cost of human assets increases in both KOSPI and KOSDAQ companies, corporate value also rises. This table shows the result of verifying the corporate value relevance and form of human capital expenditure by dividing the sample firms into those belonging to a large company and those belonging to small and medium enterprises. This result means that welfare benefits show an inverted U-shaped relationship to firm value, while training expenses and the total cost of human assets have a U-shaped relationship to firm value in both large and small businesses. These pictures show the relationship between welfare expenses and corporate value in large and small and medium enterprise groups based on the coefficient value obtained from the analysis result of research model 2. Both in large and small and medium enterprise corporation, the corporate value related form of welfare benefit shows an inverted U-shape. In the positive section of the x-axis, exactly right part, which is the actual section, the relationship between welfare benefit and corporate value shows an upward sloping curve up to a certain level, but a downward sloping curve beyond a certain level. This means that in both large firm and small and medium firm groups, welfare benefits increase corporate value up to a certain level, but decrease corporate value when it exceeds a certain level. These pictures show the value relevance of training expenses based on the coefficient values from the result of the analysis as seen in models 4. These results indicate that training expenses in large corporations continuously increases corporate value, but training cost in small and medium enterprise decreases corporate value up to a certain level, but increases corporate value when training cost exceeds a certain level. These pictures show the relationship between total cost of human assets and corporate value in large and small and medium enterprise groups based on the coefficient values obtained from the analysis result of study model 6. These results means that investment in total cost of human assets continues to increase corporate value in both large and small and medium enterprise businesses. It also means that the degree of increase in corporate value is higher in small and medium enterprise than in large corporations. This table shows the result of verifying the corporate value relevance and form of human assets expenditure by dividing the sample form into companies belonging to high-tech and low-tech industries. The high-tech and low-tech sample groups are categorized according to industry classification criteria of Himmelberg and Patterson's 1994. These results imply that in the high-tech enterprise group, the functional relationship between welfare expenses and the total cost of human assets have a U-shape, and the form of the relationship between the training expenses and the corporate value has an inverted U-shape. In addition, in the low-tech company group, welfare expenses, training expenses, and the total cost of human assets represent an inverted U-shaped corporate value related functions. These pictures show the form of corporate value relevance of welfare benefits based on the coefficient value from the result of the analysis in Model 2. As shown in these pictures, that the value relationship of welfare benefits exists in a U-shape in high-tech companies and in an inverted U-shape in low-tech companies across the entire range of the x-axis. However, in reality, only the positive section of the x-axis exists. These pictures also show that welfare benefits in high-tech companies continue to increase corporate value, while welfare benefits in low-tech companies increase corporate value when spent up to a certain level, but decreases when they exceed a certain level. These pictures show the relationship between training cost and corporate value in high-tech and low-tech groups based on the coefficient values obtained from the analysis result of research model 4. These pictures show that training costs in high-tech companies are non-linear, whereas in low-tech firms they are linear rather than non-linear. These pictures show the relationship between total cost of human assets and corporate value in high-tech and low-tech companies based on the coefficient values obtained from the analysis result of research model 6. These pictures show that in high-tech companies, total cost of human assets continuously increases corporate value, but in low-tech companies, when total cost of human assets is invested up to a certain level, corporate value increases. But when it exceeds a certain limit, the company value increases. This table shows the result of verifying the corporate value relevance and form of human asset expenditure by dividing the sample form into those belonging to the manufacturing industry and those belonging to the non-manufacturing industry. These results means that welfare cost and total human capital investment show a U-shaped firm-value relationship, but training costs have an inverted U-shaped firm-value relationship in both manufacturing and non-manufacturing industries in Korea. These pictures shows the relationship between welfare cost and corporate value in the manufacturing groups and the non-manufacturing groups based on the coefficient values obtained from the analysis result of study model 2. As shown in these pictures, the relationship between welfare cost and enterprise value is represented by a U-shape in both the manufacturing and the non-manufacturing groups. In the positive segment, exactly right-hand part of the x-axis, which is the actual section, the relationship between welfare expenses and the enterprise value of the manufacturing and the non-manufacturing company groups all shows a right upward curve. This means that in both the manufacturing and the non-manufacturing groups, welfare expenditure have the effect of increasing corporate value. These pictures show the relationship between training cost and firm value in the manufacturing and the non-manufacturing groups based on the coefficient value obtained from the analysis result of study model 4. As shown in these pictures, in both manufacturing and non-manufacturing industries, enterprise value increases when training costs are spent up to a certain level, but can actually decrease when the limit is exceeded. This picture shows the relationship between total human asset cost and firm value in the manufacturing and non-manufacturing groups based on the coefficient values obtained from the analysis result of study model 6. This picture implies that in both the manufacturing and non-manufacturing groups, the total cost of human assets has the effect of increasing the enterprise value. The slope of the curve in the non-manufacturing groups is steeper than that of the manufacturing groups. This implies that if the total cost of human asset is invested equally, the effect of increasing corporate value is greater in the non-manufacturing group than in the manufacturing group. This table shows the summary of empirical test. As shown in this table, the empirical analysis of this study showed that the relationship between human resource investment variable and corporate value is shown an inverted U-shape or U-shape according to sample business groups. In the case of the U-shaped relationship, in the section where the functional relationship between human resource investment and corporate value occurs in actual currency units, it shows a tendency to rise in the form of an upward to right curve. On the other hand, the inverse or inverted U-shaped relationship between human resource investment information and corporate value increases the corporate value when the expenditure of human resource related expenses rise to a certain level. However, if the human resource related expenses exceeding a certain level are invested, the corporate value decreases. This section is the last section, conclusions. training cost, welfare expenditure, and the total cost of human assets have a statistically significant effect on firm value increase in all the analysis results for all subsamples groups classified by company characteristics, including the whole firm. These results support hypothesis 1. Human resource expenditure has a significant value relevance in listed Korean stock market of this study. These suggest that the human capital expenditure, such as training costs and welfare costs, are not merely cost factors, but may have asset factors with future cash flow generating capabilities. In the analysis of the firm of enterprise value relevance of training cost, welfare expenses, and the total cost of human assets are different for each sample groups classified according to the characteristics of company. The empirical result also support hypothesis 2. Human resource expenditure has a nonlinear relationship with the firm value in listed Korean stock markets of this study. This study can be used to determine whether expenditure on human capital is only a cost element or an asset that could generate long-term cash flow in the future. It is also possible to confirm whether the firm value relevance of human capital expenditure, such as welfare and training cost, is linear or non-linear, depending on the characteristics of the firm. In addition, it may be possible to provide a basis for examining the specific value relevance patterns of human capital expenditure and how it is desirable to implement policies for spending on human assets, such as welfare expenses and training expenses, in order to increase corporate value. In this empirical analysis, there is a limit on the measurement of the substitution variable of human capital expenditure. In this study, training and welfare costs are used as substitute variables for human capital expenditure. In future research, it is necessary to study the field using various measurement tools such as participation rate of education and training time. This is the end of my presentation. Thank you very much. Thank you.